Okay, let's go ahead and engage this Fiend on the gate. I think we can get a 1 versus 1. Oh! I've checked both sides, so we should be good to just take this 1 versus 1. And if we can maintain an orbit around 17 kilometers, we should be good to go. Again. I think because he's using a large afterburner. No. Oh no. It's going to be hard for him to track us down. And we are going to be able to orbit him pretty good. No. Especially with the large NOS and large neutralizer draining him. We don't have any repper in the low slot, so come on! So we can maintain with our medium afterburner at our optimal. Once we kind of sense that he's getting a little bit low on shield, we can approach and try and finish him off here. We're going to rely a lot on our DPS here. But you can see he's having a difficult time hitting us with our fast orbit. We do want to try and take him out quickly. Not again! Because we don't want anybody to add on. Oh! Okay, just popped one of his extenders there. It's either an extender or it's going to be the laser implant buff there, but we've cleared it. So we're going to get through his shield, continue to put some DPS on him here. And we're going to continue our orbit to make sure that we're not taking damage. We've maximized our implant DPS at this point. We're still draining him with that large newt, so that should wear him down over time. Unbelievable. We'll go ahead and pop the DCU here just to absorb a little bit of damage. We want to maintain that leverage on this ship. Unbelievable. And now that we're past about half of his health, I think we can go ahead and go into an approach and try and get some straight shots on him to try and finish him off. Oh! He's going to be really fragile once we get him into armor. Oh, we got +1 in local. Okay, hopefully we can get this guy down into armor. We are wearing him down still, even though we are pretty close and out of our optimal range. We are getting some good shots off on him. Looks like his defenses are wearing down. Okay, then we're going to have to pop our implant extender there. Oh, no. No! Come on! Again! Not again! Oh, this is unbelievable! Hello pilots, and welcome back to another Eve Echoes video. Today I'm going to be flying a new ship. It's going to be the Megathron Striker, not the Megathron Navy issue, just the regular tier 10 Striker. The price difference between the two ships is massive, so I'm going to be going with the reduced price one. And fun fact, the Megathron Striker insurance cost is actually less than my Fiend to replace. So we're going to be kind of working on a little bit of a budget here, but moving up into Battleship territory. So while we begin our long warp in on this Covetor 2 that I've scanned down, I'll go ahead and post some numbers for you to look at. Passive DPS using the snub nose is going to be 4,600. If we activate the siege mode, we've got jumped up to 6,600. And with everything active, including double heat sinks and high power coil, we're going to be up above 12,500 DPS. And the other thing I wanted to point out is this is going to have about a 5.58 second warp time. So I've reduced it a little bit using a GU in my implant and an inertia stabilizer in my low slots, but long warp in times on our targets here. So we're mainly going to be hunting down really slow moving ratting ships. I'm thinking battleships and possibly even carriers if we can get our hands on one. But I will not shy away from the occasional AFK Covetor 2 here. So we will land on top of this Covetor 2, and you can see how long it takes us to actually land. We're so slow with this battleship. I'm not used to it. I'm used to the smaller cruiser sized ships, especially even with the targeting rig that I have equipped. It's going to take a long time to lock this on. So we definitely know that this Covetor 2 is AFK, not paying attention. But as you can see with our DPS, without even any damage mods active, 2-shot on that Covetor 2. Really easy. So as long as we can get to our targets before they warp off, we can take them out pretty quick. This is pretty much a full-on DPS battleship build. Okay, let's send the pod packing with our second kill mark for this ship. And we will check out the kill mail in a little bit. See how long it takes to lock onto these things. Luckily, nobody else is warping on us, and this looks like a pretty empty system. Okay, so we will warp off to a planet, and we'll check out that kill mail value. Covetor 2s are usually pretty valuable almost like a battleship in value. Yeah, 899 million. Not too great loot, just running some MK9s, and kind of ironic that he had the inertial stabilizers in the low slots and wasn't aware enough to use them. All right, next fight. Scanning down a one noise signal target in a ratting system. Looks like we got a Raven here. This isn't going to be a Raven Striker or a Raven Navy, just a regular tier 9 Raven. So I'm not too worried about the amount of DPS, and we have an empty system. So as long as we can get on top of this target in time with a good warp in, we should be able to take him out relatively easily. The challenge is going to be warping to him within the right distance. If we're too far off, it's going to take a long time, even with a micro warp drive in the low slots, to get on top of him and just use our disruptor. I do have one disruptor and one scrambler. I went with the scrambler instead of a second disruptor just because in case I come across any orcas or other mining ships. But for the most part, we're just hoping that these things aren't going to have high warp stability. The other thing to note is that because this is a T9 Raven and not one of the Strikers, it's probably not AI ratting. But it does look like we've caught him a little off guard and we're warping in on his anomaly. Way too far off though. We're about 100 kilometers off, and unlike our Fiend, we can't just move off into the distance and warp back to him, so we're going to have to watch and see where he goes. If you look at your overview, sometimes you can see that the Corporation Outpost is listed on the overview, and 95% of the time, that's where these guys are going to warp back to. They're going to warp back to their Corporation headquarters, so if you can kind of beat their warp in and lock them down before they dock, you might be able to grab somebody not paying attention. So it looks like that's what we're going to have to try and attempt here. Not sure if we're going to be able to grab him in time, but I do have a pretty good amount of speed in order to warp to the Citadel, and my skills are pretty high in battleships. So compared to a T9 player, he might not have the same warp speed as I do. And we're going to see what happens when we get to the Citadel. Yeah, it looks like he's still sitting out here, so he did warp back. And we will warp in real quick and hope that he is not able to dock before we target him. Usually they just auto dock. So I'm a little bit surprised to catch him off guard out here. Could be botting, could be AI ratting of some kind. Surprised he didn't just dock. Looks like he just warped back instead of docking. Okay, we will turn on our DPS mods, start building up that high power coil implant. I am going to turn on the siege mode just because it looks like he's not moving. We have a scram and a web on him, so we should be able to apply pretty good DPS. Yeah, 17,000 hit on that one, and about a 3-shot for that Raven. Very nice. So it looks like chasing him back to his Citadel worked out for us. We will pick up his loot. We got some blues here that we can sell later. And we will approach a planet and go ahead and get to a safe spot to check out that kill mill. Let's get one more kill mark by taking out his pod. Still hasn't docked up, by the way, so definitely not paying attention. Let's get ready to warp after we get this kill mark. There we go. And let's take off. Alright, not too bad. I still want to test out that siege mode and see about how much DPS it does to these battleships. Okay, not too bad. 843 million. It's actually lower than the Covenant 2 that we killed earlier. Kind of funny that a battleship would be lower than a Covenant 2 in value. But he was running an AI core, so he was doing some AI ratting and just happened to warp back to the Citadel. So a nice second kill for our Megathron, and we will move on and find another fight. Quiet night in AOA space. We're going to move over into Exodus space, and we've got an Abaddon bomber doing some ratting in an anomaly. We'll see if we can catch him before he warps off. Again, we're hoping for an AI ratter or just somebody not paying attention, or even somebody just wanting to fight. I think I can out DPS anybody who's built to take on rats. But even with that inertia stab in the low slots, I'm still taking a long time to warp, and my overall warp speed is only 2 AU to get to the target. So these anomalies that are really far off from the system gates take a long time to warp into and give our players a lot of time to warp away. So we have to kind of get lucky and hope that we catch somebody off guard. Most of the time I think this is going to be for trying to hunt carriers, but we might not have enough defense to deal with the carriers that we come across, especially with the new drones out. But we'll warp in here, see how close we end up to this Abaddon bomber. Maybe we get lucky with a good warp in spot. They don't usually rat at 100 kilometers, so we should be relatively close. Yeah, about 50 kilometers off from him. That's not too far. And this is why I'm going to use a micro warp drive in the low slots instead of an afterburner. I would typically prefer to use an afterburner, but I think that's more for fighting on gates. With the open space here, we do need this micro warp drive to try and close in on our targets quicker before they can warp off. And even with that large micro warp drive active, you can see our top speed is only going to be about 1000 ms. And our range on our disruptor is about 27. So we're really going to have to close the gap quickly, lock on and lock him down as fast as possible. I would like to get within scrambler range as well. The optimal on the snub nose is about 9 kilometers, so we want to get right nice and tight on this ship. I know the Abaddon bomber's optimal is more around 44 kilometers, so we can get underneath his guns. We might be able to output a little bit more DPS than him as well. Okay, closing in on our optimal of 9 here, we're going to activate both of our mag stabs in the low slots. We are tearing through his armor pretty good. He's not really moving very quickly, so we should be able to turn on our siege mode and web and see if we can apply a little bit more damage to his armor. But I'm kind of worried about how that applies. Even though the ship isn't moving and it's a larger target, you can see we are still just hitting zeros on this. So I don't really know what the math is on that, but I would say unless it's a carrier or bigger, go ahead and turn off that siege mode and just do regular DPS. I might not even equip that mod later on, because it seems like the only time I'm going to be using it is a carrier or a Citadel. So yeah, you can see our DPS jumps up much better with that siege mode off. We will try to approach in our optimal. He's not really locking back, so he's definitely doing some AI ratting, AFK, not paying attention, and that's what we like to see. These bombers, when fit correctly, can be highly defensive and able to withstand 3 or 4 battleships worth of damage. So it's kind of good that we've caught this one off guard. Yeah, one more shot should take him out. There we go, very nice for our 3rd kill mail. Let's go ahead and scoop up this guy's loot. Yep, oh, pod warps off, that's fine. We only need the regular kill mark. Some interesting loot in that ship. Let's go ahead and find a safe spot and check out that kill mail. Excellent capture on this one, almost 11 billion worth of ship. And yep, just a normal, I don't know what is a basic signal amplifier? Why would you even have that equipped on your ship? I've never even seen this mod used before. We'll look into that later. Yep, looks like didn't get the assault drone to drop, unfortunately, but he was integrated, so that might have added some value to his ship. Very nice nonetheless. Alright, we're going to dock up the Megathron Striker for a little bit because we have a private message. And you know what that means. It's time for our favorite segment.
Who's in my private? 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 Who's in my private?
Star star star. Oh, hello. Star star star. I'm sorry, I don't understand. It's all star star star. You're a star star star. Is that clear? Nope, sorry, still not coming through. I'll come to you and break your stupid face. Got it? Will you be AFK again? Please bring more offensive drones. I'm very broke. Where do you live? Cheetah. Moi. Address. Own. I'll come and we'll talk. Look, I'm very flattered, but I'm taken. Your charms will not work on me.
Wow. Whew. Now that was a tough one. Anyway, we are back in AOA space in our Megathron Striker looking for a new target. We weren't able to scan down any targets in this system, but I did see a couple of 2 signal scans that ended up warping away. So we're going to do the same trick where we warp to the Corporation Citadel and see if we can find anybody outside just kind of hovering around. This system is a little bit busier and we have had a couple of people come and go, so we might be running into a poor situation, and we do have to be worried about anybody taking control of the Citadel and locking us down because I do not have any warp stability in the ship at this point. However, I'm kind of treating it as a suicide mission at this point anyway, and we do have a couple of ships out here, so I would like to try and lock down that Dominic's Navy, but it looks like he is a little bit too far off and he's going to dock up. We have a slasher out here, so that might be a little bit worrisome. I could try and take out the prophecy. Let's go ahead and approach with our micro warp drive on and see if we can lock down this target before he's able to get a good warp around us. If we can get him in a straight line when he's not paying attention, we might be able to take him out. No, he's got his orbit on us already. Okay, this might be pretty rough. These slashers are my true nemesis, especially in a slow-moving battleship like this. He's got 3 points on us already, and we have no warp stability, so we're not going anywhere. The only thing we're going to have to hope for at this point is if he runs out of capacitor, gets bored, or we have another target undock that we can try and take out, because there's no way I can hit this fast-moving ship as it orbits me. I really want to start throwing some large neutralizers in my mid slots to deal with these slashers, because it seems to be just the most common way for me to get pinned down is one of these ships, either on a gate or in open space. So we're gonna have to find a way to deal with these ships. The slasher is one of the best tacklers in the game at this time. Okay, got a rattlesnake here. Let's go ahead and approach him. We might as well try and take him out and test our DPS. There's nothing else we can do here since we are locked down. Our drones are going to take forever to kill that slasher because it's just medium drones, not small. And we don't have any drone skills for this ship. So let's go ahead and approach the rattlesnake. It's going to take a long time to lock on because he's using that invulnerability timer from undocking. So unless he moves or engages us, he's going to have that invulnerability timer. Oh, okay, it's active. Let's go see what we can do. Gonna try and put as much DPS into this ship as possible. We do not have a lot of tank, so with his drone bombard, he might take us out relatively quick. And we do have a couple tracking disruptors on us as well. That's gonna be rough. Yeah, I shouldn't have activated that siege mode. And we got the carrier undocking at this point. Of course, it's AoA. What did I expect? They are going to drop a capital every chance they get, even if the rattlesnake has me dead to rights. So we will wait for the carrier to DPS us down and start our timer for the Megathron Striker. Well, good job to the slasher for locking me down. Good fight in local. I asked for it and I got it. Let's head back to Jita and undock our Fiend and see if we can find any fun with that. Alright, we are in our Fiend and scanning down a Chimera in Kraken space. I'm going to go ahead and warp it on this because you never know when you're going to get lucky. And these dreadnoughts should have a really hard time hitting my orbit speed. I am fit a little bit more defensively and I have a DCU in the low slots. So I'm thinking I should be able to get away if I really need to. And this is a special anomaly that he's ratting. I don't think it's an Inquisitor. I think it's like a like one of those purple encounters that spawn, but it has the warp gates. I'm not really sure what it's called. It's been a long time since I've ratted out a null. But as you can see here, we're going to approach the warp gate and go ahead and go through and see if he's in the first stage. Not sure how many stages this is going to have. I believe it's called a dead space or a mentor dead space. Yeah. Oh, it's an Inquisitor. Okay, never mind. Sancha Inquisitor anomaly. So not sure why I saw it was something different. And not sure why he's doing an Inquisitor in a Chimera. But we will warp in here and it doesn't look like he's in this level. We'll switch to loot real quick, see if we can get any elite loot. This is always nice. Just cleaning up the space. Little extra income. And we'll pick up a few grains and load up before we head into the next warp gate. It's very likely he's already warped off, but I'm going to take my chances anyway, because you never know when an opportunity might strike. Okay, let's warp into the next stage, the next level. This should be the last one if it's an Inquisitor. And if he has it finished, then the boxes are going to be unlocked for us. And those boxes loot, the box loot is going to be the most valuable stuff. So that's one of the reasons why I always warp in on these Inquisitors. It's because they usually warp off when they see somebody enter local. Okay, we got one ship here left with some loot, and the enemy is not in sight. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to go ahead and finish off this enemy, but be prepared to warp away. If it's the last enemy of the last wave, then all of the loot boxes are going to unlock and I have free reign on the loot. If it's not, I should have enough time to get away without being locked down. At the same time, we want to be really aware of the enemies that are in this system in case somebody warps in to finish off this anomaly or to be looking for us. We don't want another slasher to lock us down and call for help. So we'll have our autopilot set up just in case. It's only about a 3-second warp away time. And once we pick up some more of this elite loot, this is just money in our pockets. It's not a lot. It's only probably about 10 to 20 million of elite loot, but it's definitely something. So never pass up on free stuff, that's for sure. Especially when you're PvPing. You never know when you're going to come across more loot, and I need something to pay for my filaments. Okay, so we should be able to take this ship down pretty quick. This is just a cruiser-sized ship, and we're going to see if it spawns a new wave or if we're going to unlock the boxes right here. One more shot. Alright, real easy, and yep, that was the last rat. So we're going to turn on our afterburner, we're going to lock up these boxes, and we're going to start looting. Alright, cut the fast forward. We got a ship warping in here. Looks like a worm, so we're going to have to try and get onto him really quick. We don't want that bombard to get off on us. We do have some extra defense in the DCU, so I'm not too worried about the burst that he's going to do, but we want to make sure he doesn't orbit us outside of our range. If we can get him webbed and get his webs off of us, we should be able to apply enough DPS in a straight line to take him out before he warps away. And real key thing when dealing with these faction frigates is you want to get on top of them as fast as possible so they have less time to orbit you, especially with these ones that are going to orbit you at a longer range. Very nice. So more free loot for us, and we got our kill that we were looking for after all. Okay, so it wasn't the Chimera, but that's okay. We were able to take out that ship, and it doesn't look like anybody else is coming in here. Let's continue to do our loot up with the boxes that dropped. Grab his wreck, a little bit of a bonus loot. Make sure our bubble is turned off as well. Alright, all done. Let's take a look. Now let's select everything but take off those filaments, and it looks like we got about 279 million from warping in on that Inquisitor and killing that worm. Very nice. It's still roaming around cracking space. I'm looking for a good NPC station to drop off this loot. I don't want to lose this amount of money because that's basically going to pay for my next round of filaments. Oh, we got Darkstar back. This was the worm that I killed in the last system, and it looks like he's following us, so he may have reshipped. Let's go ahead and turn on our shields here, warp to a safe spot, and we're going to scan him down and see what he is running with.
Warp drive active.
Okay, I don't see any anomalies going. Let's check the gate. Okay, 2 signals. That's definitely him. Anytime you see 2 signals instead of 1, you know it's not going to be a capsular outpost. It's going to be a ship, and it's probably a very small ship. And I'm going to be honest with you, I'm just guessing. Whenever it's 2 signals, I'm just guessing on these combinations. It's really hard to tell the difference between them, and I hate this minigame. Okay, Corax 2 Assault. Interesting. That is definitely not a ship I fought before. It's a destroyer class ship, and it looks like he's hanging out at the gate watching for me. Now there's nobody else in this system, so I'm going to go ahead and warp to the gate, and we're going to pick a fight with this Corax 2 Assault and see what he's got. We'll warp in at about 10 kilometers. Yeah, that sounds good, about 16 kilometers. And we'll see if he jumps on us real quick. He's not going to have, it's not an interceptor, so he is going to be vulnerable to our bubble, so we can lock him down. But we are going to have to get within range of the web so that he doesn't get away. Because usually destroyers, frigates, they're going to be fast enough to get out of my bubble before I can lock him down and before I can get off enough shots to finish him. Yep, he's sitting right here by the gate. Not too close, so he's not, doesn't look like he's prepared to warp through. It's about 15 kilometers off. So let's go ahead and turn on our afterburner, get in a straight line. We want to approach not orbit because this is a smaller target. We'll turn on our bubble so he can't warp away, and we'll just get everything going here. So I start off with an orbit, but we want to approach this target because it's a small target. So we switch to approach, and it looks like we're firing about in our optimal around 20 kilometers. Optimal is 17, so we want to get him a little bit closer. And it looks like we have just enough speed to outspeed him and get within range. So it kind of looked like he was trying to pull away there. Now that we got him in range of web, let's slow him down so he can't get underneath our guns. And we'll continue to approach back to our optimal range. He did have webs on us there, but as you saw, I have the Dragon Chant Nano Cord that takes those webs off. And usually when we're fighting small ships, that's just enough time to get back within range and finish him. So there's really no telling how that fight would have gone without that Dragon Chant ability active or able to be active. But good fight, and I appreciate you coming back for another round. Unfortunately, it's getting kind of late and I don't have time for a round 3. But yeah, good fight, Darkstar. Thanks. That was a little bit risky because we don't want to lose all this loot that we've already picked up.
Warp drive
and it doesn't look like he had anything super expensive on that destroyer. Just some greens. So we will warp off and check out a couple of those kill mails. I don't think I checked the worm kill mail, so let's go over both of those right now. Okay, so the worm was about 607 million. Just a standard green fit worm. Was running some assault drones though, so that could have put some hurt on us if we weren't paying attention. And about 615 million for the Core X2 assault. So nothing too fancy, but another showcase for the Fiend and another ship to add to the list. Alright, let's go find another fight. So we've dropped our loot off in a local station, and we don't have to worry about dropping that anymore. And we have a Vindicator on the gate right here. I do not like fighting battleships right next to the gate because it's usually either bait or they're going to wake up and warp through anyway, because I'm not going to have enough DPS to take them down before they warp through. You don't need any warp stability in order to get through a gate. You could have 100 points on you and it doesn't matter, you can come through anyway. So I usually don't fight battleships right on the gate. However, if he is chasing us and he is looking for a fight, we may be able to bait him off a gate with our bubble. This is something I've been trying to do for a long time with the Fiend, but I haven't really had the opportunity because usually once one person starts chasing you, 5 more come. But let's see if we can go a couple of gates out and see if we can get him to follow us. We want to pay attention to the name that was that ship. It's the Ani Hoki Ani. Apologies if I'm not saying that correctly. So we know which player it is. And we're going to see if he warps over here to this gate. Doesn't seem to be coming through yet. So we'll go ahead and jump through and see if he follows us. There may be a bubble on the other side of this. So something to be aware of when people see you on gates. They are going to start calling out your name. Their alliance is going to be aware of your presence. And people are going to start locking the area down. So you don't want to hesitate too much or be stuck in the same area for a long period of time. It gives people way too much time to react. Okay, so just one person in this system next door. Looks like a camera. Talks like a camera. Smells like a camera. Okay, let's go to the next system over. See if we can find anything, and we'll see if that Vindicator followed us over here. This is a good opportunity to see if he's going to follow us because there's no other names in local. And I think if he hasn't popped through by the time we get to the next gate, then he's probably not going to show up. Oh, no, there he is. Okay. So this is going to be a great opportunity for us. We aren't going to have time to set up our bubble in this system, but if he is chasing us and he is looking for us in local, then we can pop through the next gate and possibly set up our trap there. Vindicator being a battleship is going to have a very slow warp time. So he is going to have to do a little bit of catching up, but as long as we kind of maintain this little bit of a breadcrumb for him, he should be on his way, passing through. These are pretty much straightforward systems too. It's like a path to the next constellation over. So very obvious which direction I'm going. This system is empty, so that is absolutely perfect for this plan. Let's go to the next gate on our autopilot, but we're going to warp in at 100. And the reason we're going to do this is because we want to be far enough away from the gate with our bubble so that once we stop his progress, it's going to take him a long time to get to that gate. Now, you used to be able to do this trick about 2,000-3,000 kilometers off the gate, but now I think it's regulated to underneath 150. So if you can pull this off and warp to the next one in a straight line at 100 and set up your bubble before the other enemy comes through and starts warping, you can stop them midway through their flight. So this will be a prime opportunity for us to try this strategy out. I'm excited to see if it works. I am fit a little bit more defensively, so not as offensively as I want to for fighting a Vindicator. But we'll see if we can get him to come through. We are going to have to wait a little bit. Like I said earlier, Vindicators are pretty slow. There he is. Okay, turn on the bubble. We want to make sure you get that bubble up before he starts warping. And I think we got it off in time. So let's set our autopilot to the sun just in case. And let's zoom out to see if we can see him coming. It's going to take a little while, but be patient. We're the only players in the system, and we know that he's definitely chasing us. I wish he was in a different ship other than a Vindicator. I don't know if I've said it already, but I have a very bad matchup against Vindicators because they have the longer web range. Their web range is about, I want to say 22, 23 kilometers, not using the Predator webs. And our optimal range on our lasers is 17 plus a fall off of 6. So we're not going to be able to hit him very well outside of 23 kilometers, but that's absolutely where we're going to have to orbit. We do not want him getting webs on us. So we'll see if we can get him to hit our bubble here. There he is. Perfect. Okay. Let's double tap towards him a little bit just so we can get some momentum going. And as he lands, we're going to start our orbit and lock on. And takes him a little bit of time to land. There we go. Okay, let's orbit. I've already reset my orbit for a little bit wider arc. Trying 21 kilometers on this orbit for now. He is running 2 NOS in the mid slots, but no newts, so that's good. And we are going to do pretty good damage to his shields, but Vindicators are not shield tank ships. They're going to be armor tanks, so I'm not too worried about how much damage I'm doing to his shields right now. I'm more worried about what happens when we get into armor. And as you can see, we're around that 23 kilometer, 22 kilometer mark. See, once we get into 21 kilometers, he's got both webs on us. So we want to expand our orbit a little bit. We can't set our orbit to 20 because that'll pull us in too close, so we reset it to 22. And we are going to have to break his webs with the Dragon Chant just to get it off of us. We do not want him slowing us down. Vindicators have bonuses to the webs, so he's going to basically reduce your speed by like 95%. And even though we're out pretty far away from Snubnose, it's still going to be enough to probably hit us. Man, I wish I could orbit him a little bit closer. 24 kilometers is outside of our optimal plus fall off. So you can see we are just barely doing any damage to him, and he's just going to be able to rep up right through anything we do to his armor. And unfortunately, he's running 2 NOS as well, so we're not going to be able to cap this guy out. We'll see if we can edge our way in a little bit closer, maybe 1 additional kilometer closer. Set our orbit to 20 instead of 21. See if we can come in just a little bit to get a little more DPS from our weapons. Man, if I was in the Enforcer, I would be at a 26 kilometer orbit and he wouldn't be able to touch me at all. Okay, he's yellow boxing us here, but I think he's still firing. And okay, yeah, let's move away. Okay, not sure why he's yellow boxing. Maybe he's gonna try and warp through the gate, but this isn't really working for us. Very difficult matchup against the Vindicator. Even with our fast orbit speed with the Afterburner, their double webs on that ship is just deadly as hell. So not really sure what we're gonna do. We don't have any additional people coming into this system, and I am really excited to see how far this battleship is away from the gate. I'd really like to re-engage him, but we're gonna have to think about this carefully. The only other way that I even have a chance of beating this ship and applying enough DPS is to be underneath his guns and orbiting him around 0 or 1 kilometer. But in order to do that, we're gonna have to get really close really fast. Let's see if we can warp to the gate at about 100. And that'll break his lock on us and force him to relock. And if we can get underneath his guns in time, even the double web shouldn't be enough for him to pull away from us since we have a web of our own. So let's see if we can get this to work. This is really risky. Highly advised, do not fighting a Vindicator in a Fiend. Let's see where we end up after that warp to 100. Yeah, not too great. We're still like 90 kilometers off of him. So in order to approach, we're going to have to approach at an angle. The reason is we want to maintain that angular velocity. We don't want to come straight at him because that gives him a nice straight line for his shots to do damage. We're going to come at him at an angle with our speed. See if we can kind of creep in here and get underneath his guns before he can react. And my Dragon Chant is still down, so that kind of... Oh no, he locked onto us already. Okay, he's got both webs. Let's see if we can pull in real close. It's going to be really hard to get through 2 webs, even though we have him webbed. This is the absolute worst scenario. We're not going to be able to approach or get underneath his guns because he's got those double webs on us. Our Dragon Chant is down. I wish it was up right now because we could break those webs and get in real close. Oh man, our shield's not going to be enough to hold here, even with our extra defense. We'll pop the DCU. He's still doing way too much damage to us. I think about 9 kilometers is right in snub-nose range. And because he has double webs on us, we're pretty much just sitting ducks. Also add in the irony that we are super far away from the gate, so there's not a way for me to break combat and try and get through. Yeah, he's just gonna get right through our defenses. Once he's through our shield, it doesn't really matter. All right. Good fight. Good job. Yeah, I'm confused too. You put question marks in local. I'm confused. Why? Why did I do that? Sometimes you just gotta try stuff and see what happens. You gotta learn from experience and not from your head. And that's exactly what I was trying to do. I was trying to get underneath the Vindicator's guns, but just did not go about it the right way. So, good fight, and we will rebuild. Alright, that'll do it for this video. If you liked the content, go ahead and hit that like button. If you want to see me fly more of the Megathron Striker, just go ahead and leave me a comment below. How do you like the Striker? Do you use a battleship to PvP, or do you stick to the faster moving frigates and cruisers? Either way, leave me a comment. Go ahead and hit subscribe if you want to see future content, and I will see you in the next Eve Echoes video.